The Democrats have said that they don't intend to do that, that they really are looking for bipartisan cooperation. But I do think it's important to note that they do have the 60% that they need should they choose to take action on the capital and transportation without Republican support. Other significant things to know about the election and folks that are coming to Olympia in 2025 is that there will be more than 24 new members. That is a lot of new people who are coming down to Olympia. In addition to new members, there is lots of new staff that is coming on, new legislative aides. There will be new agency heads with a new governor coming in. The governor is bringing in all new policy staff for policy expertise, most of which have yet to be named. There's even a new legislative website, for heaven's sake. So there's just lots of new stuff this session. And the significance of that is, one, is you have a lot of people who don't know a lot about how to be a legislator. They might not have the expertise on many issues. So there certainly are learning opportunities. And just at a more basic level, I mean, they need time to figure out where the bathrooms are, where their offices are, how to work with their colleagues, what it means to be in a caucus, like just how the institution itself functions. So I think we can anticipate a pretty steep learning curve for lots of people down there. And that is, true every legislative cycle, but there just are so many new people and there's so much turnover that I think it's going to be magnified this year more than in other years. Obviously, with elections that gives the caucuses an opportunity to elect new leadership. And in the Senate, we saw that a couple weeks ago, the Senate announced, and I'm focusing on Senate Democrats because Senate Republicans have not yet announced who their leadership will be. I anticipate that will be coming out next week. But as far as Senate Democrats, they elected Senator Jamie Peterson from the 43rd Legislative District, who's from Seattle, as their new majority leader in light of Senator Andy Billig from Spokane's retirement. What does that mean? I think from an ideological perspective, Senator Peterson and Senator Billig really are much in the same vein, moderate Democrats. And so I'm not sure as a newly elected majority leader that we're going to see much ideological shift having a new leader. The very important Ways and Means Committee, particularly important this year with all the budget work that will be going on. The same chair was elected, Senator June Robinson from the Everett area, but they did elect 3 new vice chairs or co-chairs to Ways and Means this year, and that is Senator Frame from Seattle, Senator Stanford, North Seattle, and Senator Trudeau from the Tacoma area. Those folks are newly in these positions, and so I think it will be interesting to see what that means as far as Ways and Means and their approach to things. The other thing that I think is significant to note is, any policy bill that has fiscal implications, significant fiscal implications, has to go through an appropriations committee. And the Ways and Means Committee has historically been known as sort of the killing fields, that really good policies go there. And if they have significant fiscal implications, they often die because you need to prove to all the folks in the Ways and Means that the investment is worthwhile. The Democrats did expand their numbers on the Ways and Means Committee, so they have a little bit more flexibility or a greater cushion. Should 1 or 2 Democrats not agree with the policy, they still will be able to push policies out of the Ways and Means Committee. And so I think that's significant that you have some new folks on that committee and that they've expanded their majority. And that is the majority's prerogative to determine how many of each party are going to be on what committee. In the House, really no significant changes in leadership. I guess the thing that I would note about the House is that it continues to be young and progressive. Folks who have been elected really, I think, come from sort of the left wing of the Democratic Party. and they are very eager to promote and push their policies. And I think with those majorities expanding, you know, we might see them flexing some more power this upcoming session. So as far as, okay, here are all the people that are coming together come January 13th. As Cynthia noted, it is a long session. And that means we're going to be in session till the end of April. And the only requirement that the legislature has in this upcoming legislative session is they need to pass a balanced budget. And I mean, they can pass whatever policies they want, but that is the one requirement that they have as a body in 2025. Just a word about process with the budget, and then we'll dive into some more details. You will see in the next 2 weeks, Governor Inslee will be releasing his proposed budget of how he anticipates or how he would like to see spending done in the 2025-27 session. That initial budget is going to have very, very significant cuts in it because we have a huge budget deficit, which again, we'll talk about more in a moment. But he will preview what his vision is for the 25-27 budget. Expect it to look pretty ugly. Once the session begins, Governor Ferguson will also release a budget. It's his vision of what the state should be spending money on. It likely will mirror much of what Governor Inslee has, just because there's not time to completely rewrite a budget, but clearly it's going to have his imprint and reflect his priorities. And so that will happen in early January. Then as session moves along, the House will release a budget, their worldview of how money should be spent. And then the Senate also releases a budget. Each of these budgets will have hearings. And by the end of the session, the House, the Senate, and the executive all need to come together, agree on, of those multiple budgets, agree on a final budget, and that needs to pass before they leave town. So that's sort of the process of what you'll see happening over the course of the session. Amidst all of that, of course, is all the good policy work that people want to advance. But the budget will, I think, soak up a lot of the oxygen in the room, particularly in this legislative session. So let's talk about budget because it is the elephant in the room. I'm sure you all have seen in the paper, and if you haven't, you will be in coming days, is we have a huge budget deficit that is looming for our state. Estimates are anywhere between 10 and $14 billion, that's with a B, over the next 4 years, which is a huge deficit that we need to address. Lots of reasons why we've ended up in this position. And we can go into those if you like, but here, that's where we sit. And so that is what is facing Governor Inslee. It's what will face Governor-elect Ferguson and what the legislature is facing. That in and of itself is very challenging. I think the other important thing to note is most of the people who are in the legislature have never had to deal with a recession type budget. They have been in office during times when times have been good, when there has been federal money, there has been money to give out to create new programs. So not only is it challenging just to deal with a budget deficit this large, in light of the fact that there are so many new people who've never been through this process, I think that really sort of doubles the challenge that awaits the legislature. To deal with the budget deficit, Governor Inslee this past summer reached out to agencies and said, as you're trying to set your priorities and tell us how much money you're going to need to operate your agency, we want you to think about like just maintaining programs, no new programs. He telegraphed very clearly that there was not going to be a lot of money, and so asked agencies to keep that in mind as they develop their preliminary budgets. Since then, Governor Inslee has come out and asked for additional cost-saving options. He's asked for hiring freezes. He's asked that they agencies pause on non-critical contracts, that they delay programs. So looking for various cost-saving options. He specifically reached out to agencies, I think it was in early November, and said, I'd like you all to give me lists of programs and things that we could cut, just to give me some guidance to figure out how to balance this budget. Various agencies did that, and I will say what we saw from those documents were some incredibly devastating cuts, that were really scary to look at. I think that part of that is intentional, and a part of it is intentional to propose cutting programs that are really important to people in the state, and just wanting that to sink in, to give people an opportunity to realize what a dire situation we are in. And I imagine that the budget that we're going to see in the next few weeks from Governor Inslee, again, is going to reflect many of those really devastating cuts. And I think it's going to be pretty shocking to a lot of us, as to what those look like, and will give a lot of us pause. I think there is some recognition, the last Great Recession back in 2008, we had very significant budget deficit at the time. Governor Gregoire proposed, and we imposed cuts of around $1 billion in human services and human service related work. And I think it's important to note that we really have not fully restored all those cuts that happened back in 2008, 9, and 10. And there is a recognition of really some of the harm that caused to our most vulnerable communities. So I think some folks think, cutting our way out of this is really not the smartest course of action. So we have this really, really significant budget deficit. What does that mean in light of the elections? Will Democrats be emboldened to take action around revenue? There's lots of conversation around that. And I know that there's a breakout session with Cynthia and others that you can go to learn a whole lot more. But we are hearing from the Senate and the House, there seem to be much more serious conversations around various forms of revenue than we have seen in the past. And in light of the rejection of some of the initiatives, it seems as if they may be feeling emboldened to consider, in addition to some cuts, considering new forms of revenue. I will note that in the conversations I've had with legislative leaders, even with considering new forms of revenue, it does seem that there's going to need to be cuts as well, given the size of the deficit. And also there is the challenge, and I'm sure Cynthia will be talking about this, with considering new forms of revenue. Even if those are passed in April, for most of them, it takes some significant time to actually implement those new policy ideas, whatever they are, and for them to generate revenue. So it could be anywhere from 12 to 24 months before you'd see the revenue from these new, new taxes potentially. And the reality is we have a budget deficit now. So there really are a lot of math problems that they are going to have to deal with. In addition, so that's sort of budget picture, revenue picture. I really encourage you to go to the breakout session around revenue to learn more about how we might work our way out of this scenario that we're in. But obviously, budget is not the only thing that will be happening during the session. There are lots of good policy ideas that legislators have and are hoping that they can move forward. We have been told really clearly that, good ideas are welcome. Good ideas that cost money are not welcome. Good new ideas. So if you have a great policy idea that doesn't cost any money, this could be your year. We have heard pretty consistently from all four caucuses that in the House and the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, that education will be a high priority this year, and in particular, special education. We have not been fully funding basic education as we are constitutionally required to do. And Superintendent Reichdahl has, when he proposed his budget to Governor Inslee this fall, has recommended $3 billion of new spending to deal with special education and rising costs and just transportation. And so there's a huge investment he is seeking there on behalf of education. And I think there will be a lot of conversation about that. So if you're in the education realm, I think there'll be a lot of work going on. Housing affordability continues to be something that all four caucuses are saying is very important to them. I think specifically in the housing stabilization and affordability space, there have been efforts the past couple of years to pass some rent stabilization legislation so that there's some predictability for tenants around their rents. Those efforts have fallen short in past years, and I think it's clear that they are going to take another run at that and hope to have success this year. Behavioral health, sort of tied in behavioral health, homelessness, the fentanyl crisis, all those things continue to be really important to all four caucuses. We may see differing approaches to how folks want to handle that, but I think that will continue to be an area of focus along with public safety. So most of those are not new topics. They are topics that have been front of mind for legislators for a number of legislative sessions, and I think will continue to be important to legislators in 2025. In addition to, and I know some of you in the recycling, I have heard, and probably no more than I, that sort of a recycling reform package most definitely will be back. And I know that's something that the League has cared about in past years. So there's those policy issues that will be percolating. And then there is, the larger context that we find ourselves in, which is what sort of defensive work are we going to need to do as a state in response to what's happening with the federal government? There's real concern about a loss of federal funds with a new administration coming in, what that could mean just generally as far as federal funding and where we might see cuts. So that's sort of a general concern. And then to be quite candid, there is a specific concern, no surprise to anyone, that Governor-elect Ferguson had been a thorn in the side of President Trump for many years. And there is some significant concern that there may be some retribution that is specifically targeted towards Washington, given the work that we had done as a state challenging the Trump administration in past years. So, I think we need to all hold space in our policy work to think about, what could happen from the federal level, what can and will we need to do to be responsive so that we can continue to have the values that we do as a state. Will we need to be backfilling funds that have been taken from us federally? And if so, where will those funds come from? All those are open questions, and we really will not know until the new administration comes into power later in January. So all of this, I think, means that what we face in 2025 is a really challenging legislative session. I also think it's filled with opportunities because there's so many new people and new opportunities to meet and develop relationships and work with legislators. But I would be lying if I said I thought this was going to be a real fun session. I think it's going to be just super challenging for all of us as advocates, as well as for the legislators and for our newly elected government. Governor. It's a challenging picture that we're all stepping into. So I will pause there and turn it back to you, Cynthia.
Thank you. I'm wondering if people have any questions for Nancy, and if you do, we can't see everybody waving their hand, so please use your electronic hand raise function. Who has questions? Aruna.
Yeah, what is the reason for this significant deficit?
I'm going to talk about that in my revenue section, but Nancy may want to add some comments now. I don't know.
Sure. Let's see. Part of it is we have done some very aggressive spending over the past couple of years to creating new programs to help folks in our state. That was some in response to COVID, and just a lot of other new policy ideas that we have implemented. And so there has been some assertive spending, I would say. Some of the policies that we have passed in the past couple of years have projected out and sort of looked to the future and said, in this year, we are going to expand this program. I'm thinking specifically of early learning and childcare. We passed some really great policies a couple of years ago that anticipated that there would be some significant spending happening in 2025. We call those bow waves, when you pass a policy and it's in future years that you really start to see the fiscal impacts. And so there are some of those programs where sort of those bow waves are now coming back to us. We also have collective bargaining agreements for public employees unions, and those have come due. And to fully fund those, that's about $1 billion in spending. So and then there's just costs of increases, inflation. So it's a whole number of things that have sort of all come together to lead us to the position that we're in. And I'm sure Cynthia will take a deeper dive into it during the breakout session.
Karen Crowley.
Thanks. I have a general question for you, Nancy, and you may not be able to answer this, but in light of this budget deficit, many organizations will be lobbying and advocating strongly to save their programs. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, do you have thoughts on where the league would be most effective? Are we effective lobbying against cuts, or should we be thinking about what we support and how to do that? And I realize this is a very broad question, but I'm really curious about what you'd say about that.
Happy to give that a quick stab, and I'm sure again that you'll take a deeper dive on this, but I think it's important to be advocating against cuts, and I also think it's important to be supporting revenue, if that's something, to supporting new forms of revenue. There are tables that are being organized. There's the Balance Our Tax Code Coalition, and there are other tables that are forming, trying to come together as a united front. So we're not sort of picking winners and losers, like fund environmental work, but you can cut childcare. So trying to ensure that all the organizations and folks who work on really good policy ideas, that we come together and have a united front and advocate that, while there may be scrubbing of the budget that needs to happen, we can't just cut our way to a balanced budget, and that it's important to promote revenue. So, and the league has been, been a strong proponent of new forms of revenue in the past. And so I would encourage us to continue doing that and sort of trying to show up in these spaces, because it is important that we have a united front, right? Like, childcare is not more important than the environment. We just need to recognize that the demands of our state require, it costs money. Humans cost money. And so we need revenue so that we can ensure that we all can thrive. So I think it's a little bit of both, no cuts and standing in unity, in unison with other groups about promoting new forms of revenue.
Thank you. Phyllis?
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. I hate to think what would have happened if the Climate Commitment Act and the capital gains initiatives had failed. But what's going to be the impact of those programs? I mean, we were so happy about those passing and the extra income, but evidently it's a drop in the bucket compared to what's needed.
You're spot on, Phyllis, that had those initiatives passed and we were facing the loss of that revenue, I hate to think about what our budget picture would look like. What it means for now, I think is it does affirm the people of this state when we show new forms of revenue and tie it to important policies like childcare, which is what and early learning, which is what capital gains went to, and dealing with our environment as far as climate commitment, when we're able to show that connection between here's where your dollars are going to go and show the public that this is what your money supports, we seem to be effective in that. People, once they understand that their dollars are going to important public policy programs, they seem to be supportive. So I think it's important, as we move forward, if we are considering new forms of revenue, again, that we show a nexus to like this form of new revenue would go to this. I'm just really, really grateful that folks in Washington turned back those initiatives, because as you said, we would just be in a world, even bigger world of hurt.
Can those funds be rated?
No, they cannot. So those
Okay.
are specifically, yeah, so.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Well, we're running way ahead of schedule, and that's okay because it'll allow a little bit more time for breakout sessions. But I just want to say thank you, Nancy. That was amazing. And we are so lucky to have Nancy on our side. So if we can find a way to give her a round of applause, please do that. Thank you
Cynthia.
so much. Really appreciate it. Oh, wait a minute. Susan Bear Joshi has her hand up.
Hi, I just wanted to point out, I think Bonnie from Clallam's asked, 10 to 14 billion dollar deficit is what percent of the total?
Cynthia, do you know the answer to that?
I don't really, I haven't done the calculation. I haven't had time, but it's pretty big. And we'll talk about the difference between the different budgets, the capital, operating, and transportation.
Great question, but like I haven't done the math either, so
No.
sorry.
Thank you for asking that question, though. It's really important. Okay, well, let's give it a shot then going into our breakout sessions, and we will make this about a 45-minute session because we have a little extra time. About 5 minutes of that will probably end up being getting organized. So the sessions that we have coming up are climate change and energy, which is one session, revenue, and then criminal justice. So Teresa, will you set up the breakout room options, and each person will pick the one they want to go to. Whoops, oh, where are the choices? I'm seeing a bunch of unassigned, but I'm not seeing any choices. Oh, I see, here we go. Okay, thank you.
If anyone has trouble getting into a room, let me know and I will help.
I would-
Yeah, Gretchen McDevitt, I can't see where choices are.
I don't either.
Okay.
Same for me. Yeah, I can't see
Same for me
anything.
too.
You're not seeing any choices.
Where
No.
should they be?
You
I
should
see
be
it.
able-
Yeah, Gretchen, I'm showing that everybody has the option to assign everybody to a room, but I don't have the option to select myself into a room.
I don't
Well,
either.
I don't see
Marty Webb
anything.
doesn't either. Marty Webb doesn't either.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Okay. So let me just,
Oh, wait.
I can,
Under the more at the far right hand of a lower level, it says breakout rooms. Now I see I can go to join. It's way in the participant chat, react, share, et cetera, more. Check on that.
Got
thank
it.
you for that. I'm not seeing that as a host, so I appreciate you stepping in.
Well, oh, breakout rooms, I see.
Oh, there, join breakout room. Okay, under more.
Under more.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Is anyone not finding that?
I'm not finding it. I went into more and I don't see anything about a breakout room.
Okay, it seems like a lot of people are finding it. So what is your name? And I will assign you to the room you want, if you like.
Pamela Jorgensen, and I think I would like is it called public safety?
It's
No, the three.
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice, okay.
Okay, Pamela, I'm not seeing your name in here.
Oh. Okay, I don't know what to do about that.
Hang on, let me see if I can get to you another way.
Jorgensen with a J.
Oh, here, Terry or Pamela Jorgensen, that's why.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, and you want to go to the criminal justice?
Yes.
Got it.
Thank you.
I'm not finding I'm not finding what I need to find.
Yeah, me too,
Okay.
Teresa.
Mary, which one do you want to go to, Mary?
Revenue, please.
Got it. Who else?
Thank you.
Teresa, this is Trisha Grantham, Revenue, please.
Okay, just a sec.
They're alphabetical.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
Anita.
don't know. I don't know whether I've joined or not. I
Okay,
want
which room did you want to be in?
climate change.
You got it.
I do. Okay.
All right. Anybody, you should be able to push join because I assigned you to that room.
Okay.
Okay, Mary. Or Mary Lynn, sorry. Which one do you want? Oh, you're muted.
Teresa, I'd like to go to climate change.
You got it. Laura.
Yes, I'd like to go to revenue.
All righty. Who else?
Teresa,
Yes.
it's Carol from Tacoma. I need to follow Deanne wherever she went for journalism.
Oh, well,
And
we've got.
I can't figure out where to go.
I think what I've got is climate change, revenue, and criminal justice. Those are the choices.
So does anybody know where Deanne went for the journalism?
I can see if, well, I don't know that you're going to be talking about journalism right now, but let me see if I can find Deanne.
So how do I get there, Teresa? I don't know how do I click over there?
Okay, I see Deanne is in the revenue one.
Okay, can you put me there?
Hang on a sec. Who is this I'm talking to again?
It's Carol.
Am I
Okay.
actually in the
You have to click the join button as soon as you see it. Go to the breakout rooms and click the join. So you should have gotten that. Okay, she got it. Who was asking?
Teresa Karen Tweed, I'd like to go to revenue too.
Okay. Got it?
Teresa, this is Catherine Murphy. Could you send me to criminal justice, please?
Sure. And we'll work on this for the next time to make sure it's easier for you to do this. Who else? Mary Lynn, you are.
I wanted to go to revenue.
You're in there, but you have to choose it. You have to say.
I never got anything to, I never got the thing to choose.
Wait a second. Revenue.
and I don't have anything that allows me to join.
Okay, let me try it again. Mary. Wow. So hang on, Mary, I'll be right back with you because I can't find your name anywhere on the list. So who else? Kim, did you want to go someplace? Madeline? Joan?
Well, I wanted to go to climate change, but I'm sort of stuck.
Okay, that should give you the option to go to, did you get a little pop-up that said join?
Now
link?
it says join.
Okay, so Karen?
Yeah.
Did you want to go to a
I'm
room?
still hanging out here. And now
Where did you want?
I
where
want
did
to climate change.
Okay, see if that works. And so now I've got.
Thank you.
Sure. So I've got Kim, Madeline, and Patricia are showing up Mary, you're not showing up yet, but I'm going to keep working on you. So I just want to check if Kim, Madeline, or Patricia have a room they want to go to. Okay, so Mary, we're going to work on you right now because you said you wanted to go to
revenue.
to revenue. And so I'm going to see if your name is under revenue, but you're not highlighted, or if you're in some kind of twilight zone. I don't understand this because I've got
don't
names
either.
for everybody else.
But obviously I'm here.
Obviously you're here, and so your name should be here, and it should be under the M's. And it's not showing up. So let me try, see if I can do anything from here.
Oh, if I go down to revenue, I see something that I see a join. Maybe I'll try
Okay,
that. Let me
give
see if
that a
that
go.
works.
Okay, so I see LWV of Benton Franklin that just joined us. We are in breakout rooms. They just started a few minutes ago. Do you want me to assign you to a room? Oh, you're muted. Let me see if I can get you to unmute. There you go.
I'm really late signing on. I didn't have the Zoom link, so I have to get it from the state league.
Well, I'm happy to see you here. We're now in breakout rooms. You can choose climate change or revenue or criminal justice.
Revenue,
Okay, hang on a sec.
the taxes, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. There you go. Okay, Mary, you tried to join and it didn't work?
It didn't work. When I click on join, nothing happens.
That is just so strange.
Maybe we'll just hang out here together.
Oh, there you are. Here you are in there. It says not joined. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to move you. I found your name at least. That's a start. I'm going to move you.
Okay. And I now see joining climate change. But
Okay, hang on. Don't do that. You want, which one did you want?
I wanted revenue.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Maybe I can do it now.
I'll be so happy if it works. Yay. Okay, hi. Patrice?
Yes, I finally got the menu, but I'm trying to figure out how to get in there.
So tell me which one you want to be in.
Revenue.
See if that works.
I don't see anything here.
Okay. I tried to assign.
Okay, it says join breakout room. Join.
Okay, so I'm all the three remaining people in this room are all on mute. And I'm going to ask you to unmute just to let me know if you are just deciding not to be in a breakout room or if you're having some problem with it. Well, hi, Cindy. I see that you are joining us from an iPhone. We're in breakout rooms right now. And if you can unmute and let me know which room you want to go in, I will put you in that room. So you may, because you're on a phone, you may not be able to unmute. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put you into a room so if you're unable to speak or make a decision, you can at least hear something interesting going on. I'm just going to find where there's a. I think Patricia was trying to join this one. Hi, Kim, are you able to speak?
Yeah, sorry, I was away.
Oh, no worries. Do you want to go into one of the rooms?
What are they now?
So one is climate change and energy, one is revenue, and the other is criminal justice.
Revenue, please.
All
Sorry.
right. No worries. It's fine. There are a lot of people in the room. They probably won't even notice that you're coming in late.
Okay,
Have a
thanks.
good time.
Thank you.
Madeline, are you here? Okay, so Patricia, I don't know if you can hear me, but it's showing that you haven't joined, so you have to push the little join button. I moved you from, let me see where you wanted to be. Okay, you asked to be in revenue, but you haven't joined yet. So I moved you out of revenue into one of the other ones and then back into revenue, so it would give you a chance to join, but it doesn't seem like that worked. Can you unmute? All right, I guess we're gonna have to give that a miss. Hi, Brenda. We're in breakout sessions right now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just hanging out in this main room to send people along. There's still about 20 minutes left to the breakout session, so you might want to join on in, and I want to give you your choices. There's climate change and energy, there's revenue, and there's criminal justice.
Did I miss the session on what the news team is doing yet? Did I miss that?
No, it's strange. I think, let me just see what the second set of sessions are. I think, let me get back up here. I don't know which part that's going to be in. I know that some of the team that was involved in that is in the revenue session. But the second breakout session is going to be natural resources, housing, homelessness, redistricting, and health and behavioral health care. So I don't know which of those, but I can put you into the revenue space where the other people who were involved with that are.
No, I haven't heard anything. So I mean, I was just curious. I wanted to see what this is all about. So I have really nothing to contribute. I just wanted to be a listener. So
this is very much a listener. The revenue group has 55 people in it. So you probably won't notice that you come in late. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay, great.
Do you want me to put you in there?
Sure. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm gonna, everybody back. So several people had problems moving into the rooms and didn't understand that they could click the more and get to the rooms, and a lot of people just took off. And then there was another wave of people who did it once the little more button was explained, and then there were other people who had to be individually put in. So maybe a little tutorial on that before we break out into the next rooms.
Yeah, and do you need a little time to set those up?
Yeah, give me a minute. Maybe you can talk to people about how to do it while I set those up.
So I had the same problem initially for everybody. What I discovered was that if I scrolled to the bottom of the list of participants, I could find the categories. If you scroll to the bottom and find the categories, you click on the one that you want to join. And then the list at the top gets smaller all the time because participants are going into the breakout rooms. Does that help at all? There's a list of categories, and then there's a little button over to the side that says join.
I don't see that.
Oh, well, it's not ready yet, so we'll have to wait for this next
Okay.
round. So there was a question that Amy Davis, is she in the room? I hope so.
I
Amy
am.
Davis was in the revenue section, and I didn't get a chance to answer it. What about the City of Tacoma Guaranteed Basic Income Program? And is that something that other local governments could do? And the answer to that is that was a pilot project. The data from that project was one of the sources of data that the state was using to propose a guaranteed basic income program for the state of Washington. It is now part of the data being used in a study that the state is sponsoring, and I don't think they're going to be willing to go there right now. Deanne Finken?
Yes, and I was wanting to respond actually to the issue that Carol Rickert brought up about electric cars not paying fair shares. Could I have a second? My husband actually is listening over my shoulder and wanted to add something that he knows about that issue. Dennis?
Okay.
Okay, real quick. We have a plug-in hybrid. So we pay an extra $300 for registration every year. It's roughly, I don't remember what it was, it's $350. And if you divide that by the 25 cents per gallon, that gets you the equivalent of using 1,200 gallons, which allows someone who's got a 25 mile per gallon car going 30,000 miles. We're certainly not going to drive that far. We do anywhere from, let's say 5,000 to 10,000 with the two cars we have. And so we are paying a substantial amount.
Thank you for sharing that. And I neglected to mention that in the revenue section. The electric car owners and the hybrids are contributing through their fees, but the system as a whole isn't working because even people with other cars, the gas utilization rates are going down. So even the fossil fuel cars are using less gas now. So we have to have a whole revolution in the way we fund transportation for a whole bunch of reasons.
Quick question, Cynthia. Do you want this room to be 45 minutes also?
Pardon me?
Do you want the second breakout session to also be 45 minutes?
Let me just check something here quick. I think so. Let me see. Yes, that would be great.
Okay, let me know when you want them. They're ready to go.
Yeah, if anybody has another question, it's the time to raise it, or we can just go to the next set of breakout sessions. And that will include natural resources, conserving, managing wisely and diverting waste, housing and homelessness, redistricting, and health and behavioral health care. Those are the 4 choices.
Cynthia, we have a question. Can we have a chance for a break?
We kind of allocated about 5 minutes to get into the session, so yes, take a break now. Aruna, did you have a question before we go?
Yes, I do. I do. Two questions. One is about if you can give more explanation about how county taxes and city taxes, a little bit more information about that, because I couldn't understand it when it went too fast. And second thing is the Washington Cares Trust Act funds, can it be invested in a more effective way so there'll be more return on investment, and same with the other monies that we are getting?
Well, just to respond to the state treasurer is managing that fund, and they do a good job with everything they have. So I don't want to second guess that. I can't second guess that.
Because there was an initiative before, to invest the funds in a more effective manner to get a better return on investment. But that time people were not contributing toward the CARES Act fund, payroll tax. But now people are, so it may pass. There was an initiative or a ballot initiative on that. That's the
Okay.
reason I'm asking. Sorry.
Okay, so in answer to your first question, I will be producing something more detailed about local government funding. Okay,
Thank you.
Deanne, one more, and then we're going to go to breakout rooms.
I wanted to point out that the redistricting breakout room will also include information about local news and democracy efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. So Anne's requested a break. Let's go to the breakout rooms, but let's start in 5 minutes, okay?
Yeah, Cynthia, I'm sorry. I have no way to get to a breakout room. It just, so maybe I can be invited back in by Teresa.
I can't,
I'm happy.
I can't
Okay.
seem to get in either.
Yeah.
So when you go to because we have a 5-minute break, this is a great time to experiment. So if you go to your more button,
I
there's
did.
nothing there.
No,
Absolutely
I have
nothing.
I have disconnect audio, notes,
Yep.
background, meeting settings, apps, and breakout rooms.
Yep, I'm there too. That's exactly what I see.
Yeah, I don't have any way to join a group either.
Yeah,
Hello. I'm back.
Wendy,
Yeah.
do you know anything about the proposed chemical recycling of plastic? And there's a plant that was proposed for Snohomish, someplace in
No.
Arlington? No?
No.
Okay.
No. And I have discovered that waste management is less than useful. I'm under their Republic, and Republic picks up our trash.
Mhm.
And
So can I interrupt?
yes.
Okay, so I think we have almost everybody back, or at least we have everybody who hasn't left entirely. So there are two more things that I'd like to do. One of them is to talk about what you can do to help, and I have a slide on that. I'm going to talk through that. But the other thing that I think might be really helpful is just to spend 10 or 15 minutes talking about what did you learn? Was this useful? What feedback can you give all of us on the lobby team about this workshop? I don't want you to say, well, you could have improved it this way or that way, because we're going to send you a poll. But in terms of content, was this helpful? What did you take away? And please use your electronic hand raise function to volunteer to speak. What are you taking away from this today? Nobody? Okay, Deborah?
Hi, the introduction and your session on revenue and the session on behavioral health were all very good. but I didn't get a chance to bring up a couple of points in the behavioral health one. And I'm wondering if there's a way for us to submit suggestions or questions to that team leader for use during the legislative, the process.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. So I showed you the chart of our lobby team. On the advocacy part of the State League website, I look for it right now. You also have contact information for us. So please use that, and you can contact me directly. I'll put my email in the chat if you can't find other people, and I can send you that. So let me just do that. So that was a great question, and thank you for your feedback. Laura?
Hey, I thought everything was excellent, and I hope it'd be nice to have these updates while the legislative session is going on, and be great. Are the PowerPoints available on the LWV Washington State website? I only go to Snohomish website, so maybe I just don't know where to go.
We are going to put recordings and PowerPoints on the State League website, but it probably won't show up for a couple of days because this is a weekend and Amy's not working. But thank you for asking.
And great to get more diversity, equity, and inclusiveness into the LWV people.
Laura and everyone, you can search on lwvwa.org in your browser and the website will come up.
Thank you. Kim, Kim, you have your hand up. I could barely see it. Thank you.
I just wanted to, I attended the criminal justice, and I wanted to say that Heather Kelly had invited an inmate who was able to access his phone minutes and come in and talk with us about getting his degree online while incarcerated. And it was so effective to hear from someone with a personal experience. Thank you.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you. Linnell? You muted.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I learned, as usual, a heck of a lot. I really appreciate that where we've been legislatively and where we're going. I appreciated the emphasis on maybe now is a time to work on policy rather than money, and I'll be interested in what the state board decides about that. I also, just kind of on a personal note, I don't have time to look at all of the videos that I have lined up on my laptop. So putting the PowerPoints up are really, really appreciated. I think that's so good. And what I've noticed about myself is I need to hear it and I need to see it. So I'm like, I need to be re-dipped in this or re-immersed in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We will make sure that you get the PowerPoints. Yeah. Beth?
Thank you very much. I am brand new to this. I am not new to the Tacoma League. I did work with them this fall. I am interested in health. I am a trained public health nurse as well as a women's health nurse practitioner. And I would like to show an interest in the health advocacy, but don't think that as a brand new member to this organization, I should volunteer for the action committee. I commend the behavioral health presentation, and I thought that the entire Zoom was excellent.
So Beth, would you consider working with both Mary Lynn and me on healthcare issues as an advocate who helps us with research and analysis and that kind of thing?
I would love to do that. I, as somebody in public health, I taught students policy, and I would particularly like to do that. I live at Frank Toby Jones, and Doris Martin is the person who has connected me with you, and therefore this workshop today. So thank you all.
Wonderful. Would you thank Doris for us? And would you get in touch with me? I put my email in the chat, or with Mary Lynn, and then we'll get together and talk about how we might approach this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mary Lynn.
Okay, a couple quick questions. Beth, yes, I would welcome your help, very much so. Uh, uh, Also, yes, we ran out of time in the behavioral health and there were more questions. So anyone who would like to contact me with comments, suggestions, anything, any time through the year, I'd love to hear from you. It would really be helpful. And then my takeaway from this was relatively specific. When you, Cynthia, when you talked about where counties get their revenue from, that was very helpful because I believe it's next week, our local league is going to meet with our officials, local officials, and informally, and I want to talk to them about that. I'm going to ask about where they get their revenue sources and how they're considering dealing with that. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. And I just will add for the whole group, counties are suffering from a different revenue structure than cities, and so they are actually asked to do more as both local and regional governments. And because their funding sources are limited, they are strapped. The Association of Washington Counties has never been willing to lobby on that issue because they have so many rural counties who are opposed to any kind of an increase in any form of tax. So we have some of the urban counties that really want to change the tax structure, and the majority of counties are rural, so they're not willing to do that. So the counties themselves are not able to really be influential on the topic. So I just thought you might be interested in that additional background. Gretchen?
Okay, I think I'm unmuted, yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, the first thing I just wanted to mention, when do we get the final revenue? It seems to me that in years past, they always say we're going to be short on revenue, and then things have sometimes improved quite a bit as projections become more accurate. So when does that happen?
Well, the next major revenue forecast will be in December. Did you attend my revenue session, by the way, or did you not?
No, I did not.
Okay. This will be repetitive for those who did then. The revenue forecast will come out again in December, and that is the basis that the governor and the governor-elect will use to finalize their budget proposals to the legislature. The next one doesn't come out till February, and that is what the legislature will use. But the bigger issue is we have a decline in the revenue, but it's not as significant as the increase in budget expenditures that are required to sustain current programs. So we have a lot of growth in the caseloads and that kind of thing, which means that more money is needed while the revenue is going down. So it's less the revenue per se and more the combination of the lack of revenue and the increased need. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, and then one thing that I would like to see, I thought I especially appreciated the opening, I think it was Nancy, as a person who is more conservative than a lot of league members. I thought she gave a very balanced presentation, and I'm really appreciative of that. And then, my comment, what I would like to see more of, it's overwhelming, I think, and I would like to see effectiveness of programs. I think we keep talking about we need more money, we need more money. We put more money into the homeless issue, and it keeps increasing, but we're not talking about which programs have been effective that we want to keep and which programs don't seem to be making a positive difference that we really need to maybe get rid of or make major changes in. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Aruna?
It has been a very informative session, and kind of knowing where the situation is. And again, Nancy and yours, and also to the behavioral health presentation was very informative, and I'm glad we'll be getting the PowerPoint slides and also the recording. Because
Thank you.
all of the sessions are interesting and want to attend, but can't make it. Thank you.
Thank you. Gretchen? You muted.
I just talked. I forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, okay. Okay, Katie?
I guess I should put my photo up here. Sorry about that. I just want to say, and it's not, come on, there we go. Just want to say, I always attend these sessions for the first presentation of each session because I always figure that's worth the price of admission. You did the same this time, so thank you for that. I also appreciate the fact that you have these other different breakout sessions. Sadly, you always seem to have 2 of them at the same time that I want to attend, so that's my problem, not yours. I also found it very informative because I didn't know about, and several of us didn't know about, a proposal to put a incineration plant in Snohomish County. So again, informative. I also think in comparison to prior years, you did a really good job of focusing just on the legislative portion of what the League of Women Voters is working on. In past years, that wasn't always the case. I thought you did a really good job of doing that. So just that's my hand clap to you. Healthcare, it looks like you don't have a chair right now for that. I've been a little frustrated, to be honest with you, and this is outside the meeting, but trying to maintain a contact with somebody that's working on healthcare in the League of Women Voters statewide has been troubling because it always seems to get dropped. I get dropped off the list, and I think it's just because you haven't been able to keep a leadership position filled. So keep trying, because I don't know enough to do that, or I would volunteer, but I have no healthcare background. I personally am trying to figure out how we can better make healthcare work. And I'm trying to learn, and I would love to learn from a variety of viewpoints on how to improve that area.
Thank you very much. And we are definitely recruiting a healthcare lead and issue chair. In the meantime, Mary Lynn and I are going to cover it. I started out, and when I started on the lobby team in 2009, I was working on healthcare, so it's not a foreign subject, but I have a lot of other stuff to do too. Susan Bear Joshi and Susan Fleming.
Hi, Cynthia. Thank you. I wanted to know if you could explain. Okay, so in school districts, the state allows school districts to raise additional revenue, and and it's really up to school districts to figure out how they do that within their budget structure, and it's up to them to put measures on the ballot, and then it's up to local voters to decide whether they want to take that on. But there are additional funding mechanisms for school districts to use. So I was wondering if you could explain why is there a similar model for counties and they're just not willing to do that? Or some counties are willing to do that, but are able to do that by law, or counties simply are not able to put together additional funding packages and submit it to voters for their approval? Because I'm just puzzled. I understand, working in education, I understand that concerns of rural counties are different from, urban counties. There's some very fundamental differences, but I would have thought that there would have been a right to choose for county councils or to do these things. So I know that's not exactly what you're looking for right now, but maybe you could explain, is there a difference or not?
I'll put something together. I promised already for on the local government funding issue. In short, the answer is yes, they can do that. And so you have some counties that have done levy lid lifts for extra law enforcement, for example, and that kind of thing. but it's a harder sell than it is for education. It's a harder sell than it is for many special purpose districts. And so, and I think that's kind of preventative. I think the counties need additional balancing. They need to not have just one source like property tax or sales tax. They need to have a range of things that creates more sustainability. But I'll try to do better in a more I'll try to do better in a more in-depth presentation. Let's see, we have, I think maybe just a couple more minutes, and then I want to go to the last kind of closing piece. So Susan Fleming.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this session. I really appreciated getting the broad view from our contract lobbyists and also from your revenue presentation. That was really helpful. I wanted to just piggyback a little bit on what Gretchen was saying. I have always thought that passing the law that we want or to implement a policy is the first step. The second step is implementation, which isn't necessarily quick or easy or well known and well publicized. And the third step, of course, is the measurements and then going back to seeing what worked. So I really do think getting the laws passed is just step one, and it might even be more important to follow implementation and gauge how things go as a program is implemented. So I really thank you, Gretchen, for bringing that up, because I've always thought passing the law is easy, comparatively speaking. Implementing things and having them go the way we had hoped they would is the hard part. So thank you. And I just wondering, Cynthia, is there anything coming up about helping people actually contact their own legislators?
I'm going to talk about that on the closing piece. So if we can just hold that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Carol?
Just one quick question for myself and everyone else. If I was on the legislative alert list last year, I'm still on it for this year, right?
Right.
Okay.
You are.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen one more time and go to this one. And whoops. For some reason, my cursor doesn't want to work here. Okay, so I'm going to answer the last question first. Susan was asking about help meeting with local legislators. The lobby team suggested to the state board and got approval to not do a lobby week this year or a lobby day this year. And the reason for that is that we are stretched pretty thin. We just do not have the resources right now to do that much. I would like to suggest that we are going to do some other things and this is a list of things that we're talking about. So number one, you're going to get a survey after this, not today, but when Amy gets back, asking for additional feedback. And we would really appreciate that as a way of using it as a planning tool for what to emphasize. Secondly, we have our annual legislative newsletter with our action alerts coming up beginning the first week of this session. And we are asking all of you and everybody you know to please respond to those action alerts, because that is the best way to get our the weight of our members and our followers behind any given bill that we're supporting or opposing. So watch for that legislative newsletter and please take action on that. I'm going to do a tutorial on using the legislative website on the evening of, let's see, on the Saturday of January 4th and the evening of January 9th. So anybody who's interested in exploring how to use the legislative website, that will be posted on the League's event calendar next week. So you can save the date and join. Allison McCaffrey and others are going to do another Speak Up School on January 11th. That is where many of you can get ideas about how to approach your local legislators. One thing that's so important, and it's hard to really explain in a way that people are comfortable with, but when you are meeting with your local legislators, you may not speak for the League of Women Voters of Washington. You have to speak as individuals. But the more individuals who speak on our issues and are letting their legislators know that they support or oppose what we do, that adds weight to our messaging and our capacity. So the more they hear from a wide range of people about things that we care about, the more effective we're going to be. So while it feels a little funny to be a league member and then not be able to say I'm representing the league, it actually is more helpful to us that way. So Speak Up School will be a place you can learn a lot about how to interact, how to feel effective with your local legislators. We also have had something called ACT on Mondays at 10 a.m. during the session. I think it stands for Action Coffee Time or something like that. The people who have been able to do that for the last few years are not available this year. So I am looking for help and seeing if we can put it together anyway with a new group of people and help from those who are not doing it anymore. They will support us in restructuring it. So watch in your legislative newsletter for more information about that. And if we can't pull it off, then I just tremendously apologize. The ACT was valuable because it gave you more background information on things that were going on. So, so we're hoping to do that, but we may not be able to. And then for those who have a particular affinity for an issue, even if you're not an expert in it, we can use your help. We can do a lot of training about how to do research on the issue, how to do research on the bills that are coming up, how to help us with testimony in the legislature and so forth and so on, writing issue papers, writing materials that we can use. So if you would consider joining our team, we would welcome you. And we know that nobody's going to, without background, is going to step into an issue chair role, but it's a good way to start segue into that role over a period of time. And we need your help. So I want to just say thank you to all of you for joining us today. It was really exciting to see all of you, and we can stay around for a few more questions because we're not quite at noon yet, but basically that's our program for the day. And thank you.